In this episode I will talk on the first Württemberg Sonata of CPEBach, and from the first movement I will cover mainly two aspects, namely the relationship between notation and tempo and how it reflects on a certain freedom of expression. That's coming up. Hello there and welcome to this episode of Afterthoughts. My name is Wim Winters and tonight I have recorded the first Württemberg Sonata in A minor of CPEBach, a very young work actually in a series of 6 sonatas which he wrote in 1742 and 1744 if I remember well, so he was around his 30s, and we will mainly go through the first movement. So in case you haven't heard the recording yet, it's this one. And second movement. Third movement. And so on. We will focus on the first movement, and as I said, mainly on the relationship between notation and tempo. To begin with, if you have a normal 4-bar structure, that is the so-called tempo ordinario, tempo giusto, that's a bar structure where you have 4 quarter notes with the fastest note value as 16th notes. And I must add to that structural note values, because you can have a structural note value and you can have a note value that goes beyond that speed, so 32nd notes. They can have an ornamentational function, and if those fast notes have a purely ornamentational function, they do not influence the basic tempo, so to say, the tempo ordinario that much. But if they are structural, and that often is the case in music of previous generation of Bach, Father Bach, but also here in this piece, and also in later works by Mozart, Haydn, Beethoven, that's the same idea. If the faster notes values faster than 16 notes have a structural meaning, then it is of influence on the tempo choice. So here and in this music, certainly the 32nd notes have structural meaning. It's not an ornament. So what it means is that if you start from a tempo ordinario, so a normal 4-bar structure, fastest structural note value 16th notes, then you have a tempo of around 60 for the quarter note. You can find that in some sources, but it is a very, very natural tempo. You should try it. So if these 32nd notes are structural, you have a kind of what Jacques van Ootmessen called in Amsterdam, it is so-called Adagio notation. I don't know if that's an historical term, but you know what it means by saying that. An Adagio notation doesn't mean that you have to play as in an Adagio, but the tempo ordinario is slowing down significantly. And when you have that much 32nd notes as here, it influences the basic tempo so much that you start counting in 8 notes. So you're shifting from the 16th notes, fastest structural note value, quarter count, so to say, to 8 counts in 32nd note values. It's not that you halve the tempo of the tempo ordinario, but you structurally go down. And the reason why a composer is using this different kind of notation is because the faster note values in the structural meaning have another articulation, have a more pronounced articulation than 16th notes would have in a normal 4-bar structure. So it has all meaning. And beginning this sonata in 8-note structure is like I played. Pam, pam, pam. So if you try to play this, overlooking the fact that these 32nd notes have a structural meaning, which they hardly can have when you really count in seconds or even faster, then you have something like this. So that's a huge contrast, and you immediately will recognize a change of character. I'm not saying that it's impossible to play it faster, but the only thing I'm saying is that I'm convinced, and that's a guidance throughout all things that I play, that this notation is not indicating a tempo like that. When you do take in account these faster structural note values and let it reflect on the tempo so that you play slower in 8 notes, there is also kind of freedom that you can take, which is very much implemented in this music. I mean, like things like this. Wait. Das exclamatio, ja da da di da da tam. Wait, again. Confirmation. Answer. Rest. You can take rest here, and the silence is so important in this music. Contrast. You can make the note long. Sorry. So it's a clear reflection of what's the beginning. And now listen. You would want to make this or these notes as long as possible, which in this 8-note structural tempo bar structure is very much possible. I'm just over the top now, but something in between. Let's do the bass here. Also here, the accent clearly falls on the second 8 note. And the left hand has at the same time a release, so it's difficult. Bass. Also here you can take your time. The computer would say that I'm out of tempo, but when you make these choices so long as you possibly can before these kind of elasticity breaks, then everybody will go with you in this very heavy movement. Endpoint. Again. If you can wait there as much as you possibly can, again in the same sense, then this second sentence, piano, adds so much. If you play it faster, I mean, I'm really exaggerating now, but just showing you the difference. Then you have to go over so many rhetorical moments. So endpoint, and then the contra. Also here, wait, and that's so new on this music. It is, I would not say it's tempo rubato, but in a sense it implements a kind of freedom that is really unseen in music of Father Bach. And that's so incredible, impressive to see that in this young work of CPEBach. It has really the same meaning as when Beethoven starts writing his sonatas. That's also as if there is a generation between him and Mozart, and he starts opening something new. That's the same. So here. Just in tempo. Also here is clear proof to me that he wants you to have to count in 8 notes. Pam, 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 pam. He's constantly shifting from accent from first to the second 8 notes. It's wonderful. And then when he opens here in the middle section, again with this beautiful clear dialogue, of course it is. And then here he ends, he brings this dialogue to another plan, and then the 30-second notes start to sound or to feel rather fast. And maybe you could push the tempo a little bit and come back at the end. And also the articulation. If this was 16th note, I would play it much more legato. Again. And exclamation. Sorry. Then he continues, and this is also really remarkable, and it works, I think, in this tempo great, are the very unexpected dissonances who are actually not prepared at all. This one. It really hurts, and for 1742 this is kind of amazing. And if you play it in this 8-note tempo structure, you have all the time of the world to hold on that moment, or that moment and the other moments. And that for me is so incredibly beautiful and so touching and so emotional, and that's really what it is about, the very heavy music. And listen how he ends the. This music of love, really genius. I mean, that's incredible. And then he just continues with the bass as in the exposition was. I mean, but in this kind of 8-note structure tempo, you have all this kind of flexibility. And I know if you're used to listening to this music a little bit faster, you need time to adjust. You need several times to listen to it before adjusting. It's like driving on a highway, and it's German music, so driving at the German highways at an incredibly high speed, and then turning into a village and driving 50 kilometers per hour. That gives an awkward feeling of everything that stands still. But if you drive a few hundred meters like that, you start seeing different things. And that's the same. So if this tempo surprises you, give it another shot, give it another chance, even try to play it yourself, and you'll see that a new world opens. Okay, that was it for today. We could talk on this for a whole evening. And anyway, I thank you for watching. You know that we have a Q&A session every Wednesday now. And by the time this is online, I will be live streaming in the so-called practicing hours. So I will practice the Sinfonias of Bach from scratch together with you if you're interested. So I will post the dates on my website. If you really want to stay updated, tune in for my newsletter. You'll find the link below in the description or on my website. And I will update you also of these live sessions that will go also online on YouTube. So again, thank you for watching and sharing this video, and I see you very soon again. Bye.